Opening the door to a piece of living Ohio history, a place where nearly a dozen governors have lived. Ahead on Face the State.
And so this is the living room, and it's a special room. We love having the piano. Here it's a Baldwin piano made in Cincinnati, Ohio.
First Lady Fran DeWine takes us on a tour of the historic governor's mansion. It turned 100 years old this year. She shows us some of the nooks and crannies and the historic and artistic parts of the grand old house, the things that make it special. From dozens of driving simulators in schools to several safe driving days through the summer to a hands-free state law, the Maria Tiberi Foundation is making a difference. How it's been working to end distracted driving and save lives for more than a decade now. Plus, from hymns to headliners, a Columbus arts organization is turning this historic church into a community event space. We'll show you around and lay out the plans to create a new future for this downtown landmark. Thanks so much for joining us for Face the State. I'm Doug Petcash. 100 years is a major milestone. One of the best known homes in Ohio has now hit the century mark. It's commonly known as the Governor's Mansion, but its official name is the Ohio Governor's Residence and Heritage Garden. First Lady Fran DeWine was kind enough to spend nearly 2 hours with us earlier this fall to show us around the historic home and the expansive gardens. The Governor's Residence and Heritage Gardens sit on 3.5 acres on the corner of North Park and Maryland Avenues in Bexley. The 16,000 square foot home with 25 rooms was built in 1925 by businessman Malcolm Jeffrey in the Jacobean architectural style.
And this is the welcoming foyer. So if you walk in, you'll see this huge, I kind of love the doors in this house, Not only are they beautiful arches, but if you see the thickness of the doors, I think this is really pretty amazing, the thickness of this door. And, the cute little things like the little peephole. This is one of my favorite doors right here, the little peephole. So it's kind of a fun entrance.
First Lady Fran DeWine showed us some of the historic and artistic touches throughout the home. Most of the art was done by Ohio artists or is on loan from the Ohio History Connection.
And so one of the things I wanted to point out was this is part of the Buckeye Suite. When Janet Voinovich was First Lady, William Seal, who's a designer, architect, did a lot of work at the White House, also did our State House when we did the renovation, and he did some work here. And so Janet Voinovich gave him like a banana box full of Buckeye branches, and he had the Buckeye Suite, he had these hand carved. So I think they're really kind of cool, They've got the, you can see the Buckeyes. Some people just look at them as ornate, but when you actually focus in on that being a Buckeye branch and Buckeyes, I think that's kind of cool.
You were talking about this painting that's here above the stairs.
So this was done by Howard Chandler Christie, and it actually, belongs to the History Connection. But it's been on loan here. Actually, Janet Voinovich, since Janet Voinovich was First Lady, and I think it's kind of significant that he's a very famous artist. He did the Battle of Lake Erie, which is actually here at the State House and at the U.S. Capitol, and he did the signing of the Constitution at the U.S. Capitol. But he was born in Morgan County in Ohio.
The home was donated to the state in 1955. This old film from 1957 shows craftsmen renovating the home, working on the ornate windows and main staircase, getting it ready to become Ohio's executive residence. Governor C. William O'Neill was the first governor to live here. Governor Mike DeWine is the 11th. Which room are we entering now?
So we're entering the dining room, and this is a room that we use a lot, when Mike was first elected. One way that we got to know all the legislators, the people in the General Assembly, is inviting them a few at a time for breakfast. And that was, I could talk about the Imagination Library, Mike could talk about some of the things he wanted to do. They could tell us their feelings. So it was a good way just to get to know everybody. And so this is the living room, and it's a special room. We love having the piano. Here it's a Baldwin piano made in Cincinnati, Ohio. And This is a very comfortable room. The Kasicks did not live here, but Karen Kasich did an incredible job of returning it to its original colors and putting comfortable furniture in as well so that you could live as a family and entertain, and not all antiques. And so she put these beautiful blue sofas here. And you know, this is Elijah Pierce, a Columbus artist. This is a portrait of him. You know, he was a barber and he did a lot of wood carvings, mostly of Bible stories.
How significant is it that this house is now 100 years old?
Well, I think it's exciting. You know, it represents a place in time, you know, when Columbus was growing, and this was the suburbs, you know, and beautiful homes being built here. And I think any house, any elegant house needs to celebrate its 100th birthday.
And what do you enjoy about living here?
I enjoy having company here. I enjoy, you know, it's a beautiful house, beautiful gardens, and I enjoy showing it to people, you know, when we have guests, just letting them be able to walk around and look at it. And I always tell them, this isn't my house, you know, this is our house, this is Ohio's house, and so I like to show it off.
I think I've done interviews with the governor in this room before.
This is one of his favorite places to do interviews. This is the governor's study. That's what's known as the governor's study. And if you look at the old pictures, these chairs, and this has been here for a long time. So it's really kind of cool. The big globe here, Janet Voinovich bought this at a tag sale, and it's kind of at a tag sale locally. And it's kind of fun to look at it because the countries have changed a lot since then. Some of the furniture, like these pieces, were actually made in the Mansfield Reformatory. You know, it was built, the Reformatory was built in the 1870s, you know, as, you know, to help reform young men and teach them skills and woodworking skills. And so these were carved there, and the picture frame there is carved from there. So
I mean, it's so ornate too, with
yes,
the faces.
Yeah, they're kind of fun. So
the residence has hosted some very well-known names over the years: Martin Luther King Jr., Walter Mondale, George W. Bush, and more.
If you look at this picture, this is Governor C. William O'Neill, and this is John F. Kennedy and Edward Kennedy. This is Governor Rhodes and Ronald Reagan, and this is the day he endorsed him. And after he endorsed him, someone asked Governor Rhodes, well, why did you endorse him today? And he said, yesterday would have been too early and tomorrow too late. So.
Just off the governor's study is the Great Room. The governor and first lady hold meetings and host dinners and other events here.
We actually found the original drawings of the house. And so this is, so we had this framed for this special year. So this is the drawing of the house in 1925. And then
so that is the actual drawing? That's
the actual drawing.
And you just had it framed this year?
We just had it framed this year. We just found it. You know, somewhere in some archive somewhere we found it. So that's and then the blueprints were there. And the blueprints are kind of interesting. This is just the first floor. But if you do the blueprints of the basement, there's like 2 coal rooms, there's an organ room, just all sorts of things that you wouldn't think of, you know.
An organ room?
Yeah. I don't know whether they had a big organ here. I don't know the music. I don't know. I have no idea. But anyway, it's kind of fun to see and how it's changed a little bit.
Mrs. DeWine then took us to a place the public never gets to see on tours, behind the scenes in the kitchen.
I kind of love this old part of the house because it really shows, you know, if you look here, you actually see, you know, the china. What do you think that's?
Oh.
Okay. So there's the china and the crystal and everything. You know, it's all kind of laid out here, and it's a working kitchen. You can see the dishes are in the sink. It's, you know, but you know, great freezers and refrigerators, and look, Jason made some bread today. So, but see the old equipment. It's still Hobart. It's still great equipment.
I guess I expected this to be bigger.
You know, we would like it to be bigger a lot of times, but it is what it is. In an old house, you work with what you have. All right, there she goes.
And we're coming out into the Heritage Gardens?
Yes, we are. So this is really kind of a special place. So when Hope Taft was First Lady, she established a set of gardens that represent the different areas in Ohio. And so we have tall prairie gardens, we have sand dune gardens, we have an Appalachian garden. So we have all these different kinds of gardens, and it's fun. And on Wednesdays, we have volunteer gardeners that come. Hope Taft still organizes them, and we have between 30 and 50 gardeners on any day.
The grounds also include water gardens, complete with colorful fish and a resident turtle named Spike.
The children love this. We have nets on here right now because we've had some blue herons take some of our fish. Oh, there's Spike. So Spike is our turtle. I don't know how many years I think he's been here for over 20 years, but he's a red slider. Now this had, a couple of weeks ago, this had cattails growing in it, very tall cattails. So it was sort of like a jungle and he could hide, but there he is now. We cut it down for the winter time. But my contribution is the storybook trail, so that's what I'm going to show you. So, and this is a willow oak. And if you look, there's holes under it. So I knew some of them go way deep into it and under it, so I knew that Peter Rabbit must live here. So I figured we'll do the tail of Peter Rabbit. So this is where it starts.
Kids can explore Peter Rabbit's story at different stations throughout the Heritage Garden.
Then she goes to the Bunny Bakery, and so to get brown bread and currant buns, and so I had to make a bunny bakery. So this is my bunny bakery that I made. And when I have my little 4-year-old grandkids here, they think this is really the coolest thing. They'll mix up stuff and play around here. But I just made that from a flower pot. And, I pretended like I was a mother bunny, and I got, the prettiest rocks I could find and some broken china and even a broken arrowhead here in the middle. And so anyway, so the kids can put their stuff in the oven to cook.
The residence is eco-friendly with solar panels and underground cistern system to store water, and the gardens are organic. The First Lady says they use the vegetables grown here in meals at the residence and donate some produce to different organizations.
Do you ever come out here and just kind of soak up the peace?
Yeah, it is. It's I like to walk out here at least every night. Me and Dolly come out here, and it's just kind of fun. And we have, right around here, we have a lot of blackberries. There's none left now, but there's still, you can see these are blackberry bushes here. So, so if kids are walking here and, they can pick a blackberry. What food we don't use in the house, we donate. All those beds there they've just sort of covered them up now because everything is gone.
Mrs. DeWine says they've done a lot of things to keep the home and property in good shape, setting it on a solid foundation for the next 100 years. She says it's part of their job.
When you live here, you keep things up. You see it every day, and so I think it's always important, for the governor to live here just to make sure that everything stays, in good repair, and houses that are lived in are better houses.
Tours of the governor's residence and Heritage Garden are offered most Wednesdays throughout the year. You can schedule a tour on the Friends of the Ohio Governor's Residence website. The organization describes itself as a privately funded nonprofit dedicated to the preservation, conservation, and education of the historic home. Still ahead on Face the State, another grand old building is getting a new life with a new purpose. This former church in downtown Columbus could soon welcome the community back as an arts and entertainment venue. We'll check on the progress Kappa is making on this major project. And next, the mission of the Maria Tiberi Foundation, how it's working to end distracted driving and save lives. The Maria Tiberi Foundation is now moving into its 13th year working on its mission to prevent teen driving deaths. Maria Tiberi died in a distracted driving car crash in 2013. She was a senior at Ohio State University majoring in graphic design. Now the foundation in her name is working to end distracted driving and save lives. Our Dom Tiberi and his wife Terry started the foundation about a year after Maria's passing. It raises money to donate driving simulators, more than 200 so far. Simulators are now in 4 schools in Central Ohio. The foundation also sponsors safe driving days in the summer for young drivers to practice on a real outdoor course. I talked with Dom about the mission of the Maria Tiberi Foundation. You and your wife Terry started the foundation about a year after the passing of Maria. Why was it important to you to get something positive going so quickly?
Well, there's nothing we could do to bring our daughter back. And, you know, we were in a situation where we had lost our child. We were in disbelief. It is a parent's worst nightmare. And, you know, I had a conversation with my wife and I said, listen, if I go back on television, because there was a part of me that said maybe I won't do television anymore because I was just that broken up, and she was. And I said, if I go back on, we're going to have to embrace this. And I tell people that I learned to love the pain, and we've turned what is the biggest tragedy that any parent can go through into a mission. And our mission is to keep other families from going through this. And every time we see another child lost, it just breaks my heart, and I relive all that, because my goal is to end this madness. To me, the biggest frustration is that the leading killer in the United States, the leading killer in Ohio of children age 8 to 24 is car crashes. And amongst all age groups, it's the third leading killer, with cancer being one, heart disease being one, cancer two, and car crashes three. And, you know, I asked what's more preventable. And so this is why we've done it. And there's nothing we can do. I mean, believe me, I've thought for years, how can I bring Maria back? What can I do to bring her back? And there's nothing you can do. And for a person like me who's type A personality, who my thing is you go fix it.
Yeah.
You can't fix death. There's no do-overs from death.
You've done simulators. You've got them in 4 schools now. You have driving courses over the summer. Does it occur to you maybe like how many lives you have saved, or
you know, people say to me, Doug,
Yeah.
and they say, well, if you saved one, and I immediately say, I don't want to save one, I want to save them all.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and I hope we've had an impact. You know, between the simulators through the foundation, we have 4 schools up and running. We initially put simulators around the state of Ohio with police departments. Then through my 10 TV family, we started Maria's Message. I've been to 170 high schools.
Wow.
I've spoken to businesses. I've spoken to colleges. And we provide free defensive driving classes. And, you know, I've been involved. The station's allowed me to be involved with the political side of this. And, you know, I helped lobby to get a hands-free law in Ohio, and I applaud the governor for that. We were able to get the driver's age pushed back to 21. Anyone 21 and under now has to take driver's ed.
How important do you think that is?
That is huge, because if you look at the statistics, a lot of the crashes that you are seeing are caused by 17, 18, and 19-year-olds. The stats don't lie. And, you know, the thing about stats that I tell people is every statistic has a name, has a face, and has a family that's missing them. And so to me, that is why this was so important. We've got, you know, driving a car is not a right. And we need to remember it's a privilege. Mm-hmm. And that you're sharing the road with everybody. And your actions can not only affect you, but can affect other people. And so I think it's important that we do it. And the governor gets it. I applaud Governor DeWine. He's in this club that no one wants to be in. He lost his daughter. John Kasich lost both of his parents in a car crash. And so the leadership of Ohio knows firsthand the pain that you can have happen to some loved one in an automobile. And so we need to do a better job of educating our children. We've got to do a better job. And I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to get driver's ed back in the high schools. I know there was an attempt to do it, and it did not make it out.
It has to start with a conversation, right?
But
yeah.
it needs to happen. It needs to happen. You know, we identified putting the simulators in at the career centers. These are our people that are going to be working. This is our workforce, and these kids got to be able to drive, and we got to make it affordable for them. But we need to figure all this out, because, you know, I pray for the day that we have autonomous highways. You know, we have a road from Dublin to Marysville where that is happening. that's when some of this will hopefully get a lot better. But we all need to drive defensively, not distracted.
And finally, Dom, just how can people help the cause if they would like to?
Just have a conversation with your child. Let them know that they're loved, that they're important. And you, as parents, are the best judge of your child's driving ability. And I understand it can be a burden when they're in high school and you've got to take them to all these things. But the biggest thing you can do is monitor your child. I tell parents, you pay for the phones, you pay for the cars, you pay for the car insurance. You know, it's a privilege for your child. You can take those things away if they're not going to do what you tell them. Because at the end of the day, I'd rather have your kid a little mad at you than what we had to go through.
For more information, you can go to mariatiberifoundation.org. We'll be right back. Now to a major new development in the Columbus art scene. The Columbus Association for the Performing Arts, or CAPA, is gearing up for a multi-million-dollar renovation of a former church in the downtown. 10 TV's Jay Plyburn gives us a tour and a look at the plans.
This historic building in downtown Columbus was once filled with hymns and hallelujahs.
We're in the former Central Presbyterian Church.
Built in 1859, it's one of the longest standing structures in all of downtown.
This is the oldest photo we have of this church.
But after more than a decade of silence,
2011 was the last service.
the Columbus Association for the Performing Arts is breathing new life into the space,
We want to reopen it as a music venue.
bringing in a multitude of different sounds while carefully preserving this unique piece of history. CAPA is raising money to transform the former church into a community event space.
We're about $10 million towards our $14 million goal.
Unlike CAPA's other theaters, this one will have a stage that moves.
So we're calling it a performance platform. It can be in the middle of the room, it can be at the far end. So if someone wants to do a really intimate show with the platform in the middle, we can build a small platform in the middle and keep the rest of the floor open.
Theater in the round, you might call
Theater
it.
in the round, that's exactly right.
How many can you put in that main space?
For a standing room concert, 690.
Where does that compare to the other, I mean, obviously it's falling short of the Ohio Theater in some of these
Right, right.
places, but it's not the smallest of the venues, is it?
No, it won't be the smallest. It fits in a gap where we have a deficit.
The build-out involves a new HVAC system, even a rooftop bar,
It reshapes the model of what it means to be in a CAPA venue.
and many facets of the former church are staying in place, like the iconic stained glass window,
Built here in Columbus by the Von Grichten Glass Studio.
the chandeliers,
We're going to put some LEDs in them.
and parts of the original pipe organ,
Our intention is to make them scenery.
not to mention the building itself.
Is it safe to say that this project is saving this structure?
Absolutely, yeah. A developer wanted the property. Obviously, it's a marquee piece of land downtown. That did not sit right with the congregation, and they came to CAPA and asked us to develop a reuse plan and purchase the church from them.
If all goes well, by fall of 2027, the same space that once lifted voices and worship will once again be filled with music, just a different kind.
CAP has a great history of rehabilitating historic buildings. This is part of our mission, and it's our way to give back to the city.
CAPA hopes to hold opening night in the fall of 2027. Once it finally opens, this will be CAPA's 6th historic space, all of them in downtown Columbus. Thank you for joining me this week for Face the State. I'm Doug Petcash. I'll see you next Sunday at 11:30. Have a great day and a Happy New Year.